Hello, MGTOW. Hello, men. This is Howard Dare. Thanks for stopping by. So, I want to talk about confidence versus arrogance, because I believe that this can make a big difference in a man's life, understanding the subtle differences between these two things. But before I go into it, let me say thank you to everybody who's been stopping by, liking, sharing, commenting, subscribing, even donating, especially donating during these difficult times for men, actually for all content producers here on YouTube. Unless you're making makeup videos or puppy videos or social justice warrior videos. Those seem to do really well. The advertisers like that. So anyway, I'm looking for like a new model for running my channel, and I'm probably going to have to move over to Patreon. But that's cool because Patreon was made for someone like me. So let me tell you what I'm talking about. Arrogance versus confidence. Because I see this a lot, especially in young men. And I can tell you from experience that arrogance is it's very damaging. It's just not good. Yeah, there you go. That's why people come to the Howard Dare channel for descriptive terms like that, like just not good. You're welcome. So I think that we can recognize confidence as someone who is prepared to do the things that they're setting out to do. They have the experience, they have the knowledge, they've anticipated some of the potential outcomes and their responses. And they're confident in their abilities as well. And this is a very admirable trait. You know what I mean? When you see somebody who's confident, it inspires good feelings. You can relax, you feel comfortable. And you know, I'm kind of talking about this for the younger men, because I know how difficult the circumstance is socially, how awkward it is, how difficult it is. And I don't mean like if a man's trying to pick up a woman. I just mean if a man's trying to do his job and interact with, you know, an entitled woman and a blue pill simp. That's a horrible circumstance for a young man to be in, because he doesn't have, you know, the experience yet, the confidence yet. So he's faking it until he makes it. And the people that he's interacting with, you know, the entitled woman and the blue pill simping man, are just the worst examples, you know, the worst types of people for him to be around, to become a man. Because one of them is is the entitled woman who only sees men as worthy in their disposability, right? That's a whole set of videos in and of itself. You know, people used to ask me why I use pictures of women, you know, looking at the camera so often. Yeah. So that's the way that the entitled woman is looking at the young man, okay? And the elderly blue pill simping man, you know, who's just there to please the women and get along. He's not in and of himself a bad man, but he's not a good man either. And he certainly isn't any sort of an example, you know, of a respectable man. He's a man who compromises himself every single moment of his life. And that's how he gets ahead. And he thinks it's the smart thing to do. So he becomes this simpering, sickly, weak, pathetic sycophant that's just willing to do anything to please, you know, the attractive woman. So these are the people that the young man who's trying to develop confidence is around, okay? So he's going to put forth a little arrogance. He's going to say, look, I may not know what I'm doing here. I may not have any experience here, but I've dealt with situations like this before. I'm completely confident. Right, and then he's going to move forward, and they're going to mock the shit out of him, is what they're going to do, if you see what I mean. It's like you're going to the ring. Okay, you've decided to become a fighter, and you've trained your best, and you've done everything you can, and you've got a reasonably well-matched opponent, and you're going to the ring. And the people that are in your corner are an entitled woman who's complaining to you about how you didn't take out the garbage, and you didn't provide her with enough money, and you're not a real man. And the other person walking to the ring with you is an elderly blue pill simp that just agrees with the woman on everything and tries to shame every sort of masculine behavior and then looks to the woman. Okay, so that's the setting that young men are in. I'm not just describing an imaginary situation. I'm not just going off on a tangent. This is my metaphor for the social circumstances that young men are facing. Every day in school, every day at the work, every day when they're interacting with people in authority. It's either going to be a female that considers them worthless, or it's going to be a male who considers himself worthless and a servant to women, and then shames the young man into going along with it. And when he does go along with it, you know what they're going to do? They're going to reward him. They're going to compliment him. And you know what it's going to do to his metabolism and to his health and to the efficacy of his personality? It's going to destroy it. It's going to tell him that the way you get ahead and you get along with people is by debasing yourself and complimenting them and belittling yourself and going along with their assessment of you. So it's a horrible message. And it starts right from the beginning. In other words, when a little boy comes into the classroom and he says, well, I'm having a little trouble sitting still here. Can we go out and play for a little while? The teacher looks at him and says, wow, that's a really bad quality trait that we're just going to have to train out of you. Right? And then when the little girl says, wow, I could just sit here all day and do as I was told and just say anything I needed to say in order to get along with the people around me, teacher's going to look at that trait and say, wow, that's a really great trait. I really admire and appreciate that trait. What a good girl you are. You should all be more like Betty Sue. So that's the setting. Now, the difference between confidence and arrogance. Confidence is the knowledge that you are prepared to deal with the circumstances that are coming your way. Now, of course, you can't anticipate all the circumstances, nor would it be wise to try to prepare for all of the circumstances. When you're playing a game of chess, you're not evaluating every move and every possible outcome. You're only evaluating the ones that seem probable and possible. Otherwise, you just couldn't do it. And it's the same thing with defending a position. You're not defending all fronts. If you try to defend all fronts, you're going to be weak on all fronts. You're defending the fronts where you think you're going to be attacked. Too many options, too many decisions can stifle your ability to move forward. Understand that there are times when somebody is presenting options to you and they're doing it because they're scared and they're unsure and they want to make sure that you're considering all these possibilities, at which point listening to them for too long can become unsettling. Arrogance is the presumption that you don't have to prepare for the things that you're going to be facing, that you have some innate built-in quality, or that some other accomplishment gives you ability and that you don't have to take the necessary steps in order to become successful at what you're doing. It's very difficult to be confident in life as a young person, especially if you're dealing with older people, and you usually are. So unless you have experience, how can you be confident? And unless you're around strong men that are building you up to be a strong man, how are you going to build these traits? We often see here in MGTOW young men who come into MGTOW, and that's great. And they don't know what's wrong. They don't know what's going on, but they know something is wrong. And they know that they don't feel good about the situation. They feel they're being treated unfairly, especially by women and by the establishment. And they express their frustration in, many, many ways. Rarely is it in an intelligent, coherent argument or statement. It's an incredible situation. The men, the boys, are actually being trained to go against their own nature, to hate themselves, because they're told that they're evil, oppressive overlords, especially the white boys, right? Yeah, there you go. Right? They don't have any sort of victim status, get out of jail free card. So it really is, being punished for the sins of your father. And that's bullshit too, because they weren't sins. Okay, I guess I have to explain that a little bit, right? Human progress is not, in and of itself, exploitation. The idea that the most capable people are going to gather the most resources, that's not exploitation. That's just the way it is. The idea that you want to mitigate or that you want to hold back progress, that's crazy, okay? When hungry people come to a land of milk and honey, they will consume those resources. That's what they're there for. There's no other consideration. And if you say, oh, there's a local population, it's like, well, what are you going to do? They can't gather the resources. They don't know what to do. They don't have the technology. They're not advanced enough. So you should just leave those resources alone. And you as a people should, do without them and hold up progress because you don't want to take it from those other people. That's absurd. Okay, you're going to build your mines, you're going to build your roads, and you're going to start extracting those resources. And the people, the local population that's there that could not extract those resources, they're going to benefit as a result. They're going to learn how to extract resources. They're going to get access to things that they never had access to before. Is it a harsh, brutal process? Yeah, of course it is. It can wipe out races of people if they can't adapt, if they can't overcome, if the technology gap between the two people is too great. So this is the process. This is the driving force behind industry, behind profit, behind progress. And so if a large business concern comes into an area where the people can only build huts and it creates industry and gives them jobs, some people would call that exploitation. It's not. It's not exploitation. There would have been no jobs. There would have been no resources unless the more advanced, capable people come into the situation and begin exploiting those resources. They're not exploiting the people. So I believe that's the proper way to look at it, okay? If you've got a bunch of people and they're hungry and you come across a whole bunch of land and it's very fertile land, then those people should move into that land and they should take advantage of that land. And if they can't, and they don't, what are you going to do? You're going to feel sorry for them? You're going to give them free stuff? And when another group of people come in and say, wow, look at these opportunities here, we're going to take advantage of these opportunities, are you going to say, no, you can't do that? You shouldn't do that? So that's the mindset that gets passed on to the young man who wants to move forward in life. It's like, no, you can't exploit the resources of the earth. Yes, you can. And you should. And you should build your future. And you should secure your future. And you should make it strong. And you shouldn't take bullshit from anybody. And you shouldn't hurt anybody, but what's there you should take. And you should use. So let me know what you think about this in the comment section below. Please like, share, comment, subscribe, donate. I appreciate the donations. And join me again, Howard Dare, as I plan to have more content for you. Thank you, MGTOW.
Deputetët e Partisë Demokratike kanë akuzuar ministrin Sajmir Tahiri se Shqipëria po kthehet nga një vend i prodhimit të marijuanës në një vend trafikimi të drogave edhe më të rënda, siç është edhe heroina. Ndërkohë Tahiri u shpreh se lufta kundër trafikimit të lëndëve narkotike është një prioritet i yni dhe se këtë e tregon rezultatet e arritura deri tani.